real estate world. I'm 20-year mega agent Tim Soika and the host of the Tough Talk Real Estate Podcast. What if I told you today's guest, Stacy Sutter, and myself have both managed accounts, very, very different accounts, that have brought in hundreds of thousands of dollars of commission per year per account and dozens of transactions. Today we're going to talk about finding those accounts, building them, and keeping them. Finding one of these accounts can change the financial fortunes of your year, your career, and set your family up for life. And losing them can do the opposite. If you're willing to sit through the tough talk today, we're going to give you advice to help you find those accounts, keep those accounts, and give you the tough advice you need to succeed in the market. So buckle up for today's Tough Talk. Hi, I'm Mega Agent Tim Soika. Welcome back to the Tough Talk. Today's guest, Stacy Sutter, has one of the most interesting backgrounds I've ever seen. At one time, he managed the Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae accounts, and he could receive 30, 40 listings a month from one source. Today, he and I are going to talk about not just landing that mega account, but maintaining it and keeping it, and the mistakes people make when they lose them. So I'd like to welcome Stacy Sutter.
Appreciate it, Tim. Thanks.
There's a big cost to losing them. We'll address that later.
Huge cost.
And I want to talk about your past first, how you got into, again, one time managing two of the biggest accounts in the world.
Right.
But talk about how you got into real estate, but go back a little further. I know you were a college athlete.
Yep.
Talk about that, how that helped you, hurt you, things like that.
Well, I started out as a competitive distance runner in high school, made All-American, went on to run at the University of Northeast Louisiana University, and then finally at the University of North Texas. That competitive nature has always been within me. The desire to do better, the desire to work harder than anybody else. It's not that there's any magic to real estate. It's just who's willing to work just that much more than anybody else. And you know that. I've watched your career for the last 20 plus years.
Yeah.
So
again, I can't want things for people more than they want it for themselves. And I tell people that all the time. So
yep.
Did you come straight into real estate out of college, or who did you work with?
No, I did 13 years in the restaurant industry.
Which is crappy hours.
It was shitty hours.
But it does teach you work ethic. Like I worked in the restaurant industry too. You pick up a work ethic.
Yeah, absolutely. You learn to work long hours for low pay, which, starting out in real estate, that's a given.
Right.
So did 13 years there. Opened a restaurant consulting firm. I had a contract with the Marine Corps. That contract ended. I left Japan and ultimately ended up in Bakersfield, California. A friend of my parents, who was a realtor, introduced me to my first brokerage, and I ended up working for them.
You started out as just a standard real estate agent, not a foreclosure guy. So what were you doing? What did your first couple of years in real estate look like?
Well, the first year was mentoring by a couple of great mentors, and then a lot of hard work, a lot of long hours. I, at that time, really didn't understand production and, what the numbers meant. And I can remember that, like yourself right now, we were required to wear suit and tie into the office. Yours truly was in there on a Sunday night. The owner of the company came in. I was like, oh, shit, I'm dead now. And went in and apologized for not being dressed. This is like 8 o'clock at night. And he said, hold on a second. He types on his little computer, pulls up my production, said, Sutter, do you realize that you're at $5 million in production in your first year?
Incredible.
And
that was 25
and that was
years ago.
25 years ago.
So that'd be $15 million today.
Oh, yeah. And in a market, my average price point, my selling point was $112,000 in a $110,000 market.
Wow.
Yeah, I was hitting the big numbers.
You were outperforming the market. So you said, one advice I give people is you can't just go ask someone to mentor you.
No.
You've got to provide something for them. So you said you found this mentor.
Yep.
But what were you giving him for him to mentor you?
Well, it was interesting because when we started, He and I bonded over the fact that we both had come out of the restaurant industry. He had owned a restaurant. I had been the manager, not the same place. And both of us were in the office at 7:30 every morning. He was having cigarettes and coffee. I was having a cigar and coffee. And that's how we met. He was one of only 2 HUD brokers in Bakersfield, California. His name was Carlson, Bill Carlson. And he would never teach anybody how to do anything that had to do with HUD. If you had a HUD deal, he'd let you give it to him. He'd pay you a referral fee. He never gave away the secret sauce.
He protected his kingdom.
Oh, big time. Nobody knew how to do it. My wife got transferred back to Houston, and he told me, he said, Sutter, I'm worried you're going to starve to death. And I'm like, I'm not going to starve to death. He goes, I'm going to teach you how to do HUD. So for the last 4 months I was there, I worked in his office for exactly 0.0%.
Wow.
And he literally taught me everything there was to know about HUD, including the secret formula, how you figure out the bottom price they'll take.
But you basically worked for free.
I worked for free.
To learn this lesson that lost your career.
Yep. 4 months for absolutely free. And at the same time, I was still selling and closing my own deals. So I didn't starve to death. But I moved to Houston, bought the website HoustonHUDhomes.com, got here, and I started running like 2-inch long, 1-inch wide ads in the classified section of the Houston Chronicle.
So you used to get a lot of leads. Early in my career, I remember you gave me one of those leads.
Yep.
That turned into like 10 transactions for me. But you literally were advertising, want to buy a foreclosure, call me.
Yep.
You were advertising for the worst of the worst buyers.
That's right. I wanted the scum off the bottom of the earth. Yeah. As a matter of fact, a broker here in Houston actually told me I wasn't sophisticated enough to work in her office.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, fine. For many years thereafter, I often sent her my production yearly and just sent it in an unmarked envelope and mailed it to her office.
By the way, I have an agent who we both dislike. I won't say any names.
Yeah.
But initials SM. So won't say any names. But she once told me, with your marketing strategy, you'll never have a ticket average above $200,000. My ticket average is $200,000 per house higher than hers. Just saying. But yeah, things like that really keep you going, right?
Yeah. So, forever, I had a magnet on my filing cabinet in my office that said, "You're not sophisticated enough," with her picture on it.
Oh, wow.
And I was like,
So you got here.
I got here.
And you started advertising for foreclosure buyers, but you didn't have foreclosure listings.
I did not.
And you and I met right after you'd picked up, I think you went into negotiation and purchased someone else's business.
Right. There's 2 ways to get into REO. Earn your way in and buy your way in. I did it the old-fashioned way. I bought my way in.
But you just bought one account.
I bought one account that was doing maybe 2 deals a month.
Okay.
But understand, we're talking 1999, 2000. Foreclosures hadn't hit the world. And it wasn't sexy to be an REO broker. At that time, there were like 8 of us in the entire city.
Right. And you bought your way into one account with 2 or 3 transactions. But now, I joke with people, like, if you let me put my foot in your door, I'm going to step in and take over your whole building.
Oh, absolutely.
Just give me that foot in the door. So that was your foot in the door.
Yep.
And was that the Freddie account, Fannie account?
That was the Freddie Mac account.
Which was at the time were 2 or 3 deals. And again, this was before 2008 when foreclosures.
Oh, yeah, this was 2000, 2001.
So you and I we knew each other about 2005, and my production and yours were running hand in hand for a while. And then the foreclosure market came, and you went,
bye, Tim.
Boom. Yeah, just smoked me. For several years, you just smoked me. So about 2005, you and I met.
Yep.
And you just had Freddie at the time, I think. And then how did you get the Fannie Mae account?
Well, here's the deal. If you guys can get one account, all you need is one. Now you've got something to put on a resume. Now you have something that shows you really know what you're doing. And if you can get that one, then the rest of them will fall in line. Especially if you can get a Fannie, a Freddie, the Veterans Administration, the VA account.
Didn't you like Banco Popular?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I had Banco Popular.
Didn't speak a lick of Spanish?
No, absolutely not. Me no habla español.
Right.
Yeah, it was, I picked up all kinds of stuff. And the reason is because we did a great job.
Well, there's a saying that I was going to say for later, but I'm going to use it now. When I was with Nestle, we had this great coach. gosh, I just went blank on his last name. I really want to give him credit. But he had this saying, he goes, Bill Everett said, we're going to be an inch wide and a mile deep.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're not going to be a mile wide. We're going to be an inch wide and a mile deep. We're going to be so integrated with our clients, they're not going to know where we stop and they start.
Yep.
And you have to be that for these type of clients. I just had a client call me and he thanked me. They had a homeless issue at one of their, I think that's not something a salesperson normally handles.
Right.
But I went in and got as much done for him as I could before it went up the hill to him.
Mm-hmm.
They want you to handle things for them.
Oh, absolutely.
They don't want to hear about problems. They want to hear about solutions.
Right? Yeah. I inherited a property that the guy I bought from, his business, he had it on the books for 2 years. I had it on the book for a year. They were in court. Our attorney called and said, hey, what do I need to know? I said, hey, do me a favor, look over at her and say, hey, will you buy this property for $18,000? I had no authorization, no approval,
right.
No permission. And she said, yes. I called the asset manager, said, hey, I can sell it for $18,000. Our court costs are going to be $24,000 starting out. She said, sell it. I said, it's already done. I just wanted to let you know I'd made that call.
So I think the one thing you can do with these accounts is you have to become so valuable to them with your systems and processes.
Yep.
And that's one thing I saw with you earlier. You're an early adopter of virtual assistants.
Yep.
You're an early adopter of systems and places, and surrounding Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, Banco Popular with an incredible team.
Right.
They didn't have to do anything. They just called you. And again, I remember, so one of the best calls I ever had or talks with you, I'm standing in the hall, and I said, I just got 3 listings. I think it was a Monday, and I went out and I got 3 listings on a Monday. And he goes, great, I just got 32. And you literally got a call and they gave you 32 listings, right? Yep. What does that feel like? Is there some terror there?
Oh, there's a lot of terror there.
Right.
I mean, you got to remember, you don't know what you're walking into with a foreclosure. It can be homeless people. It can be squatters. It can be angry homeowners. I mean, you name it. You just never know what you're walking into. Not to mention the time that it takes, because you're on a very short timeline. These properties have to be inspected within 48 hours of receiving them. You got to go out and slap up the, hey, we're foreclosing your property sign. You've got to, try to make contact, offer cash for keys. And, we live in the city of Houston. I mean, right. The first year I was an REO broker, I put 100,000 miles on a brand new truck. So my butt said forward backwards if I dropped my pants.
So your history is you went from basically nothing to, by 2000, I think it was 2010, 2011, you were doing how many transactions a year?
We were running, about that time, we were probably running about 250.
Transactions a year.
Yeah.
Ticket average, what, about 250, 300,000?
Oh, God, no.
Well, was it much lower than that?
It was much lower than that.
Oh, wow.
We were running like about 140.
So you were just...
It's bulk.
It was just pure bulk.
Yeah, it was just pure numbers.
Now, we're going to go to secrets of success next before we really get to the tough part. But I think one secret of success is really knowing who you are. You and I had a really tough conversation. I landed a foreclosure account. I don't know if you remember this.
Yep, I do.
I landed a foreclosure account, and I remember I knocked on a door, and a guy puts a gun at my forehead. And I said, it's funny. I was just leaving, right? So when you have a gun in your forehead, I was able to bring out humor, and I think you know me well enough to know. Yeah. Hey, I was just leaving. He laughed, I laughed. But I had this saying at the time, like my job in real estate was to bring sheer joy to people.
Right.
And my wife, who's one of my best counselors, had this really tough talk with me. She's like, is asking people to leave their home bringing joy to people? And I said, no. She goes, it's not who you are. No. And you and I had this talk, and you're like, Tim, you like selling pretty houses.
Yep.
You go sell pretty houses. Leave the ugly ones to me.
Yep.
And so you were kind of my mentor at that point. You pushed me to
stay the hell out.
Stay the hell out. But it wasn't my gift. Systems and my gift is I'm sales. I'm good at going into a room and making things happen. But I learned early on all those processes were not my gift. Now, in saying that, I've learned to hire for that. And we do 200, 300 transactions a year now.
Right.
But it is selling pretty houses and pretty buildings and the really foreclosed. And also, you had to turn on, talk about the negatives.
Oh.
You had to turn on water, gas,
electric. You had to pay all that money up front. You had to pay the trash out crew up front. And then the banks, oh, we'll get your money back to you in 30 days. It's 45. You got another water bill, another electric bill. They expect it to be on time. If the water or electric gets turned off, they get all bent out of shape. And then they try to screw you on getting your money back.
Right. I'm going to say this. So if you think you want to get in the foreclosure business, do. I mean, there's some real pluses. But don't get in unless you are really good at accounting all your expenses, because they're going to want you to spend $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 sometimes up front.
Oh,
more than that.
Oh, more than that.
So they're going to want you to spend a lot of money up front that you will get reimbursed, but you better track everything. So if that's not the game you want to play, don't go play foreclosures.
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk about real quick. So my secret to success was realizing I liked that you were getting 30 listings a month, but I had to find a different way to do that.
Sure.
So we talked about there's different ways to get these accounts. One is buy one.
Right.
One is build one. So I went out and we built an account. You know, they met with us. He had an idea of something he wanted to do, and you and I talked about it before we had speakers on. We had a guy that we worked for a couple of years for free. They wanted to try this new concept, and for 3 years, I basically worked for free for this guy. Nothing got paid, and everybody thought I was an idiot. And then we had 66 closings over 6 months.
Right.
And $400,000 times 66 closings is a lot of commission. So everybody thought I was the smartest guy in the room, but we helped build that account. Now, while this guy was advanced before in several other areas, we helped him launch a new concept, and now he has potentially 5 or 6 new complexes coming behind that hopefully we get to work with. But I still have to prove my value every day. So you can help create them. Someone comes to you with an idea and you help them build.
Right.
Or you're out pitching for business, but you have to prove your value. So my angle when I'm pitching for business is similar to what you used to have is, hey, I came from residential. I can close 50 or 60 transactions in a month. Most commercial agents can't do that. And when we do commercial, that's our pitches. We can close these deals. You have to find a way to add value to these clients if you're going to pick up these large accounts.
Oh, absolutely.
You have to come up with an angle. You had that before anyone else did that I knew. You had the systems, the process, and everything. And although I didn't want to get in foreclosures, I knew I wanted to land those large accounts. And we have 3 or 4 of those now. But at your peak, you had 16.
How about 36 different banks we were working with?
Wow.
Yeah. And some of them only sent 2 or 3 deals a year.
Right.
But that's okay.
So some of the secrets of success when you were managing those accounts, when you get in the door, you gave that first. What are some others?
The next one is to provide great service. You're going to be working with an asset manager. Just know up front that asset managers are paid on commission just like real estate agents are. And so the higher price you can get for them, the more their commission is, the more your commission is. You don't screw anybody, but you make sure that your numbers are right on the ball. I used to play a game because after you do a BPO or broker price opinion on a property, then they'd send an appraiser in after you.
Oh, wow.
My goal was to be within $500 of that appraisal, one way or the other. And, today appraisers come to me and go, there's no way. And I'm like, here's the comps. Here's exactly what it is. And, when you've done that 10,000 times, I mean, really, it's not that hard, but you get it down to the point where when you give your asset manager a number that they're going to be able to go, all right, this house is going to sell for $160,000. That's what it's going to sell for. Then you get more inventory because you keep their numbers looking good and you're turning that inventory, 30, 45 days. So, yeah.
Really fast. So I think if you're going to keep a large account, one thing you really have to have with them is you have to have just hard, steady honesty. I'll give you an example. I made a huge mistake, Stacy. So I had an agent who magically appeared in the room. I had been working with his client for a year and a half, never mentioned they had an agent. And then the agent shows up in the room, and it's the client's son. And he says, hey, I want my son to be my agent. And I said, okay, let me explain how this is going to work. The minute this happens, my commission gets cut in half, and your son's going to make $45,000 for doing nothing. Are you sure that's the lesson we want to be teaching your son today? And as funny as that was, and as powerful as it felt to say it, he stormed out of the room and said, I will never work with you again. And I had to call my client and be honest and say, I just blew a deal for you. But
it happens.
It's better that he heard it from me than anyone else. Now, in saying that, I called, ate some humble pie. The deal got saved. The young man's a great young agent, and his dad's a great guy. But at that point, all I could see is I just couldn't let it go. Like he's going to make are you sure that's the lesson we want to be teaching your son? Like, no work, $45,000? That doesn't sound like a good idea.
Right.
And I couldn't let it go, but I really needed to. But that's not the lesson. The lesson is I had to call my client and say, I messed up.
Yeah.
The other thing you owe these big clients is loyalty. I don't know if you had to do this, but when I land a large commercial account or an opportunity to pitch for it, I call my other clients and say, I have a chance to pick up this client. Is that going to cause a problem for you? Is that redundant? Do you see that as competition?
Yeah.
And I've had to walk away from millions of dollars in commissions, not sales, commissions.
Yeah.
Because I had clients go, yeah, we see that as a problem.
Yeah.
However, I've kept the clients I have for that reason. So I think knowing that you have to have that conversation, or don't have to, I think you should. I have a client who gives me a whole lot of business, and yeah, I can pick up $15 million in business from this other source. But if he finds out that I'm marketing a similar project to him without checking with him, that could be a problem.
Sure.
So I think loyalty to these large clients is one of the, if any secret I can have, honesty with them when you mess up.
Yep.
And here's my solution to the problem. Don't call them with the problem. I'm calling them with a solution. Here's how I messed up. And I have a chance to pick up $15 million of business. And as much as I have it and I want it, I don't want to mess up the $30 million worth of business you're giving me. That's hard to do, but you have to do it. Did you have to do that?
The REO world's a little different than that because, there aren't that many REO brokers.
Okay.
And they all have to get rid of the house one way or the other. It's got to go. And, in the beginning, when there was only like 6 or 8 of us here in Houston, we just referred business to each other. If somebody up north had a property that was coming down here, they'd say, hey, call Sutter. He'll take care of it for you. He's got the Freddie account. He's got the Fannie account. They pitch you. And that's how you would pick them up. As that industry grew.
And then shrank immediately.
And you shrink like that overnight. I think as real estate professionals, we have a fiduciary responsibility to all of our clients. So you're absolutely right when you go to that client and say, hey, this is an opportunity that's been presented to me, but does it cause a problem for you?
Right.
All of my clients knew who all of my other clients were. Because it's just like real estate. REO is a big segment of the industry and a very, very small community.
So I think I look at it a lot like I've been married to the same woman 31 years. That she's the only woman I want.
Yeah.
I'm going to be loyal to her.
Yes.
Right? And I think you have to treat your accounts like that. Like if you have it right, these type of accounts can change your financial future forever.
Oh, yeah.
Again, I have accounts that I've collected $500,000 in commission from one account. It can change tomorrow. It changes everything in losing that account. Can change everything too. Yep. Before we talk about the market drying up, which I want you to talk about some resources. I want you to tell me about the 5-Star Conference. Sure. If someone wants to get into the foreclosure business, that's where they need to be, right?
Yeah.
Talk about that.
5-Star, it's the only REO convention for real estate professionals. Anybody that is in the REO world will be there. I've given Tim the information so that he can put a link up here for you all. I don't remember exactly when it is, October or something.
I've got it. Sunday, September 28th?
September 28th. There you go. It's held in Dallas, Texas. It's there at the Omni. Usually a great event.
Great hotel.
But, awesome hotel. But, Fannie's going to be there. Freddie will be there. All of the smaller banks will be there. Anybody with inventory to get rid of is there. Now, let me caution you. Understand that the REO world is a pay-to-play game. You are going to have to take each one of them's individual training, and they are going to charge you for it and not guarantee you that they're going to give you inventory.
You're going to have to do free BPOs.
Free BPOs. You're going to have to do drive-by BPOs for $10 a pop, all of that. It's ugly. It's icky. But if you want to play in the game, you've got to pay the dues up front.
I'm Mega Agent Tim Soika, and we're here at Go Long Studios. We're here with the owner, Kevin Massey.
Hey, Tim.
We're about to vibe with the Tough Talk.
Here we go.
All right, so what we're going to talk about today, Kevin, is how do you keep a large corporate account, 20 to 50 million? By the way, if you want to know how to get one of those types of accounts, maybe you could watch today's episode with Stacy Sutter.
Yeah,
that'd be great. But we're going to talk about how you keep them. So here's how you keep that 20 to 50 million dollar account. One, you set up processes to support their needs. You are going to be their administrative team. You're going to do everything you can to keep them. That sounds easy, right? Honesty. Honesty is also easy, Kevin, right? Hey, I made a mistake today. Here's what happened. Here's how it affected your business. You're going to have to do that, right? Tell them everything that touches their business, right? Here's the hardest one. Ready for the hard one, Kevin?
Well, back to that honesty. It's the saying of under promise and over deliver.
Right.
Most people revert the other way because it's a quick, easy win, but they're kicking a can down the road, in my opinion.
So here's the toughest one to me, and it's commitment. It sounds like such a small thing. I have several large accounts that can give me $15, $20 million, $30 million worth of business in a year. And sometimes I have a new account call me that wants me to support them. And I want that business. Who doesn't want $15 million of new business?
Yeah, it's tough if they're in the same industry, though.
Right,
so,
right. So
I respect you always do.
Right. So before I take that, I will call the account and say, is it all right if I pick this up? And sometimes they say no.
Yeah.
That's
they
tough.
appreciate it, though.
Right. Check for their approval. Be loyal to them. I'm going to give an example from the residential world. So I'll give an example. So Perry Homes, Pulte Homes, those kind. Well, sometimes you'll end up on an appointment and you kind of find out about that appointment through them. Now, they're not allowed to refer you, but you find out about the appointment through them. So when you go out and meet with the homeowner will go, hey, look, I want to use you, but I want you to go to a different home builder. Don't take that listing.
Gotcha.
Because if you found out about the listing through one builder, stay loyal to that builder.
Absolutely.
I think that's important.
They notice it.
All right, problem solving. If someone calls you with a problem, just take care of it. I'll give you an example from my Nestle days. I had someone call me and say, hey, Tim, we've got millions of dollars of cheese sauce stuck at the Canadian border. I need you to get it across the border for me. Now, did I know how to do that?
Figure it out, eh?
I figured it out, eh? I didn't know what to do. I just told them it was taken care of.
Yeah.
He hung up the phone knowing it was taken care of, and my job was to find out how to take care of it.
Absolutely.
Right. They're your lifeblood. You have to be their champion in the community. So when you have these big accounts, they expect you to be at community events, really preaching for them, and then turn it into this kingdom. And in time, hopefully, one of your team members can take over that kingdom, and you go to establish another kingdom. But you always have to be devoted to them, but you always have to be looking for the next one. So that's how you keep these large $15, $20, $50 million accounts.
Excellent.
Anything else you want to throw in, Kevin?
That's it. Thanks, Tim.
All right.
And then once you get that first one, though, then the world becomes a whole lot better place. And then all of a sudden, it's kind of like a flower opening. You get the first one, and then the rest of them open up with it.
It's also an interesting conundrum going into that game, and let's talk about it, is I tell people you don't make money in real estate selling real estate, although we do.
Yeah.
You make money buying real estate.
Yes.
However, if you're managing those accounts, you can't buy from those accounts at the time.
Nope.
At the time.
You still can't.
However, you can learn the systems, and if that's not your account one day, you're going to have some really not good knowledge to build. Is that equitable?
You mean like now?
Yes. Yes. So you don't. If you don't have those accounts anymore, you have more expertise than anyone else. So not only are you learning to sell a lot of houses, you're learning how to buy houses.
Absolutely.
I learned how to go to the foreclosure steps. I can't remember if you taught me that, but I learned how to buy houses at the foreclosure steps.
Yeah.
So I would be good at that. So I would know how to do it. And I bought a couple houses at the foreclosure steps. So I think that's really important is you don't just learn how to work in that world. You learn the best way to invest, and you can take those tools and use them, not at your accounts,
right,
but somewhere else.
So
let's talk about, before we go to the tough talk part of it, let's talk about your success team and when you're at your peak, what they look like. I remember a virtual assistant being in the corner of your screen with everything you've done, which we'll get to that.
Right. Her name is Bernadette Canero.
Do you still have Bernadette?
Bernadette is the Chief Operations Officer for Summit VA Solutions today.
Right.
She has ownership as well as Cecile Animas, who was with us then as well. I had 5 full-time VAs, and they literally were taught to handle the transaction from the day it was assigned to us to the day we got our last check from the bank. Many more steps than a regular transaction.
You had a full-time office manager, if I remember correctly.
I had a full-time bookkeeper.
Okay.
And ultimately, the The rest of the office staff went away. It was all virtual assistants and 2 field guys and myself. And like you, if somebody didn't point a gun at me at least twice a year, it wasn't a good year.
By the way, if you're going to get in the foreclosure business, I highly recommend concealed carry.
Concealed carry, get a license, make sure you're insured, protect yourself. Do not walk into these properties, if you're not really sure what you're doing, because it's a scary place.
So tell us a little bit about, we're going to give you a chance to really pitch it at the end, but how did changing to virtual assistants change the way you did business?
So at the time, and you figure this is, 15 years ago, the banks started reducing the commission they were paying agents because we were making so much money. And they were like, they shouldn't be making that much. We could just cut a half a point and put it to our bottom line, yada, yada, yada. They wanted more service, less commissions. So I was introduced to virtual assistants. And I went out and hired 5 the very first day and treated them like mushrooms. It was horrible. They were kept in the dark. Every now and then I'd open the door, throw shit on them, and then expect results. It doesn't work that way. My partner now, Bernadette Canero, she's an industrial engineer. She came in and she introduced me to systems and processes. My entire business ran on SOPs. You could look at any time, anywhere, and know exactly where every file was. Every conversation, every phone call, every email. We used a platform called eBroker House that allowed us to be able to go ahead and, track all of this. And as an REO broker, just know that you're going to have agents call and scream at you because they think their offer wasn't submitted, yada, yada, yada. We could show them exactly when it was submitted, when their offer was brought in, when it was sent out, and the response that we got. Have I been through a TREC investigation? Yes, I have. TREC investigator shows up. She said, I want to see this property. I set her down the computer, opened the file, and she goes, holy crap. We're lucky if we can usually get, a seller's disclosure and maybe a buyer representation form on the first visit. I said, pull any file you want. Every one of them looks just like this. And she did. She pulled 9 of them. And she was stunned. She goes, you have no issues. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Well, again, going back to, if you're going to play the REO game, it's a paperwork game.
It's a CYA game.
It really is, because you are reporting to banks that have a lot of liability. You have to.
A lot of money, a lot of attorneys, and you are basically their representative on site.
Right, absolutely. All right, so I think this question is especially key for you. There's a question we ask in every meeting. We talk about the state of the market. And one thing I talk about with state of the market, it's not the market, it's you. If you're having a bad year, there's someone else in your market that's having the best year they've ever had, period. It's not close. If you're having a bad year, it's you, period. However, you can't control foreclosures were everything in your world for
years, 14 years.
And then in 2 years, the foreclosure market is over.
Literally in about 6 months.
They stopped foreclosing on homes. That's when venture capitalists entered the game and started just buying up houses.
Well, they bought them in bulk. They buy 40 houses at a time.
And they would call the bank and go, don't put them on the market. We'll just buy them all for you.
Yeah, we'll just take all of it. We don't care what the condition
So you had a job, you had a career, and
suddenly I didn't.
You did not.
Yep.
So you had to. Now, a lot of people talk about shifting in the market, and how I've covered that is I just sell regular houses and I sell commercial. And when commercial's up, I'm great. If residential's up, I'm great. There's seldom a time where they're both down.
Right.
I try to cover a lot of bases, but you had literally a lot of eggs in a basket.
I had all my eggs in one basket.
Talk about what that year felt like, because a lot of our people who are listening to this are going to face a year where their whole world falls apart. And when your whole world falls apart, Stacy, what did you do?
Well, let's be very honest. There's a lot of people whose world is falling apart right now. But what do? You pick yourself up, you figure out how to make money. I mean, there's 100 things you can do with a real estate license, a broker's license. I know both Tim and I got our licenses as brokers within about 4 months of each other. Go out there and do the business. I see a lot of new agents that have come on since COVID who are now experiencing their first down market, and they are dropping like flies right and left. Bottom line, this is the time when you need to invest in marketing. This is the time when you need to build systems and processes, streamline your business, automate your business, and then get to the point where you can run it so that it's a fine-tuned machine. You're going to pick up market share. because let's be honest, real estate always comes back.
You made a hard shift into the VAs right there. You went from a VA user to a VA business owner.
To a business owner, yeah.
So that was a hard shift.
Yeah. I basically took a year off. Didn't know what I was going to do. I'd been going at it full force 14 years, and we took a year off. We opened up a property management company for another brokerage here in Houston, and then we decided to open a VA company. And the funny part was I opened this company with $3,000.
Yep.
We began making money, within...
How many VAs do you have now?
Just under 300. Yeah.
So I want to give this advice because something he said here is really key. So he talked about when the market's down, that's the time to double down.
Yep.
When the market's down, you double down. The most famous story, of course, is IBM. When during the Great Depression in the 30s, when a lot of companies were getting out of business, I think it was Thomas Watson. I know the last name was Watson because they still use it for their AI, right?
Yep.
Thomas Watson said, no, we're not getting out of business. We're going to invest in our business. And no one came out of the Great Depression in better shape than IBM. So the best thing in the world that can happen to me is when they just changed the way commissions were, a lot of agents got out of the business. And I'm like, it's such a benefit for me, not because agents are getting out of the business, because it gives me a chance to show how well I know this business. Hey, with the commissions thing, it's not really going to be fair anymore. Well, if you know what you're doing, you can take real advantage of that.
Yeah.
And I have.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So we started talking to agents differently. Like, hey, are you going to pay me my blank percent? If you're the procuring cause, we would love to pay you that. However, if you show up late in the process, I will pay you this and you'll like it. So any downturn gives you a chance to build your business. And the best thing is when the market rebounds, there's so many more transactions per agents because there's less agents.
Right.
There's a saying that I had, and between 2013 and 2020, you could swing a dead cow and hit like 5 real estate agents, right?
Oh, yeah.
They were everywhere. I think HAR went from 20,000 agents to like 50.
Yeah.
There were so many agents in the market, and they had never, like you said, experienced a down market.
Yep.
The best thing that can happen to your real estate career is you experiencing a down market. I want to repeat, the best thing that can happen to your career is you experiencing a down market, surviving it, and then adding that toolkit to your toolkit. So
adding that tool to your toolkit.
Yeah, there we go. Adding the wrench to your toolkit. But
yeah.
I had a client that said, hey, if I have a hammer, I call you. That's what I'm great at. But in a down market, you have to learn how to use a screwdriver. So it's really interesting. So it's not the market, it's you. And you made that hard shift. And I think you love the business you're in now a lot more than the foreclosure business.
I can't say that.
Right.
I really enjoyed being an REO broker. I believed in when I went into the business.
So Fannie, Freddie, he wouldn't mind having the business back?
Fannie and Freddie's already offered me the business back.
Wow.
Yeah, I turned down 37 listings the other day.
Wow. So keep your skill set up.
Yeah, yeah.
If you want 37 listings, call Stacy and ask for a referral fee at.
Yeah, when you and I met, this maybe wasn't quite as white, and there was a little more on top.
I never had more on top.
Yeah, I know you didn't.
Yeah.
But I had to have a long, hard conversation, not only with my team, but also with my wife. And, the REO business, it's not fluff and fun and, you go in and it's pretty.
But you loved it.
I loved it. I believe that if you're going to be an REO broker, you have to treat everybody with empathy until they become a jerk. And as soon as they hit that point, then all bets are off. Like I said, if you haven't had a gun pointed at you recently, get in the REO world. If you haven't been screamed at, get in the REO world.
Yeah, and if you haven't been threatened to be sued every 5 minutes,
get in the REO world. Yeah.
But there are some, once you have your system in place, you have your success team.
Yep.
You have your, we talked about, you said your success team was your wife. Tell me about the other players on your success team we haven't talked about.
Well, the biggest players on my team are my VAs. My wife does not have a lot to do with my business.
But she propped you up, you remember, when you got started.
Oh, yeah. She was the one who would keep me going, say, hey, don't worry about it. I mean, I was fortunate in the fact that I had a wife that was in the oil and gas business, not in real estate. And, she kept our bills paid and, car payments and all of that fun stuff until I could get this thing off the ground.
But your VAs are...
But once the business got started, and and I brought the VAs on, and they got to where they're at today. They are 100% my success.
So let's explain what a virtual assistant is for people who don't know. VA, virtual assistant, is someone who probably doesn't live in the United States.
Yep, probably not.
And their hours are much different, but they adjust their hours to your hours.
Yep.
And they do all your work for a little less because they're in a different economy than we're.
Right.
So.
That's exactly right. Basically, it's outsourcing. We outsource to the Philippines. In the Philippines, call centers and virtual assistants are the second fastest growing segment of their economy. So you can imagine how many people are in the industry. There's great ones, there's okay ones. The big difference, though, is making sure you have folks that understand what you're doing. Make sure you have somebody that can either help you put together SOPs or actually be able
SOP
to do...
is standard operating procedure.
Yep, standard operating procedures. Sorry. But yeah, it's that ability to make that machine work. Most VAs work what you and I would consider third shift.
Okay.
They're there in the middle of the night. Their time. They work your schedule, your time zone. And this is going to sound horrible. I really don't care. The difference is they really, truly want a job and want to work.
Perfect.
And with what we can pay them, it's economically feasible for you. It's great for them. I mean, literally most VAs that come to work for Summit will double or triple their income the day they start.
Perfect. So it's a win for them, win for you. Win for you.
Yep.
All right. So I wanted you here for one reason.
Yes.
So the history is great, and giving good advice is great. So we've given you positive advice. We've given you things to help you grow your business and land these big accounts. You have to be part of their business. We've given you all that. But now it's the tough talk. We're not quite to the tough talk yet, I should say. Now's your biggest mistakes that you've seen agents make. Now, I told you ahead of time, this is what I brought you in for, because we don't have to candy coat it. So Sutter and I have been guilty of telling people things more toughly than they needed to hear them at times. That's what this segment's about. So I'll start. Well, let's go back and forth. All right?
Okay, you're first.
All right, me first. So commercial agents. Just because an agent's never done a commercial deal doesn't mean you shouldn't return the phone call. About 60 to 70% of business I do is with agents who have never done a commercial deal in their life. They don't know what they're doing. I have to drag them to closing. But answer your phone. Just because you're a commercial agent and you think you're all that, answer your phone, commercial agents. And new agents, just because you haven't done a commercial deal before, if you have a viable client, a commercial agent should be happy to work with you. So commercial agents, don't write off someone because they haven't done this. Residential agents, don't write off an agent because they're new. Help them through the process, and that person might be your ally forever.
My side.
Yeah.
Not knowing how and not willing to learn how to run a profitable business. For any of you who can't spit out your numbers, and I know Tim can, I know I can, you have to know exactly where your numbers are, whether that's production numbers, gross commission incomes, dollars in the bank, taxes, savings. If you're not putting away for retirement, my biggest fear as a real estate agent was that I would wake up one day, be 60 years old, and have absolutely nothing in the bank and have to be able to do 2 deals a month to be able to pay my bills. That was my biggest fear. So make sure you know your numbers.
I talked about this last time, but I think one of the biggest mistakes you can make is commission check to cruise. Right? I got a commission check. I'm taking a cruise, but I said that last time. So,
yeah.
All right. So I think one of the worst things you can do is make excuses to your client. They don't want to hear it. If your client calls you, how's your day? It's great. How's everything going? It's super. If they call you with the problem, even if you can't solve it, and I'm not saying tell them you can't, hey, Tim, I need you to go by and take care of this for me. Absolutely. Hang up the phone and try to figure out a way to do it. All they want from you is solutions. They don't want to hear your excuses. If you want to keep a major account, that's why they keep you on, because you're the answer to their problems. You're not their problem.
Okay, mine, get out of your own shit. If you are in doubt that you can be successful, if you are in doubt that you are not going to be able to make it in this industry, please leave now.
Yeah.
Because if you're not, then you're not working. And if you're not working, you're not doing deals. If you're not doing deals, you don't know how to do deals, and then nobody wants to work with you anyway. So believe in your success. Believe that you're going to make it, and believe that you are going to be as good as you want to be. And that is up to you how good that is.
So if somebody calls you, call them back. It's that simple. We're in the answering the phone business, returning calls quickly business. If you want to make money, no excuses, call people back. Look, I need my time till 9 a.m. I do. And I put some borders around that. No, I do. But I have people blowing up my text at 6:30 in the morning. Don't get into this business if you don't expect that to happen. Also, don't come into this business if you don't want to get no's. No's are part of this business. Honestly, the biggest part of this business. Don't let rejection affect you, period. If you don't get 4 no's before breakfast, you're probably not going to have a successful day in real estate.
If you don't get 4 no's before breakfast, you weren't making calls. Mine, lack of a database and not asking for referrals. The number of agents that I watch who, 1, do not have a database, 2, do not know how to use their database, 3, have no idea how valuable that is. Understand that as an REO broker, I took all of the data from both sides of every transaction. Number 1, it doubled the size of my database every time we did a deal. Number 2, I could then stay in touch with those people and nurture them and remind them that we're here in the business and ask for that referral. And this is all stuff that, people in your office and mentors and guest speakers and Tom Ferry and everybody else come to talk about. You already know this, but if you're not doing it, that's your fault. Get a database, put the names in it. I can tell you that when about 2008, we were guaranteed anywhere from 6 to 8 regular real estate transactions just off of our database of people who called us.
Feed your database. Keep feeding it. I think you and I had this talk early in the business. Is one of the best real estate trainings you can have is here's a door, open it, leave.
Yep.
Don't sit in your office all day. So I had one agent, and you could probably remember this guy. He would follow me around and tell me how great his website was. He would tell me his marketing plan. He would tell me all the things he was doing great. He would talk about how he was setting up systems. He was getting ready to get ready for years. And he would tell me how much real estate he knew than me, which was true. How much more real estate law he knew than me. How many more classes he was taking than me. But you know what he never actually did? Sell any real estate.
Yep.
So go sell real estate. Go make mistakes. It's okay. You will learn by doing transactions. Go take all the classes you can. I believe in education. I'm not saying that. But if you're not going to leave the office and go out and make some contacts and transactions, you're never going to do anything.
Right.
We get no for a living, not yeses.
Yeah, absolutely. We get no. And let me piggyback on that. If you are an agent and you have all of those letters behind your name, certified, blah, 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 let me just tell you straight up.
We don't care.
Nobody cares. The only people that know what those mean are other realtors. The consumer understands 2 terms, real estate agent and real estate broker. And if you carry a broker's license, you don't need all the other letters behind your name.
I literally went and got my broker's license because I had all these agents say, Tim, you don't understand. I'm a broker, Tim. I'm a broker. Yeah, and I've tracked your production. The last transaction you did was in 1982. It doesn't matter. But a broker, like you said, I think agent and broker. So if you're going to go get more training, get your broker's license. If you're a commercial agent, go get,
CCIM.
CCIM. Invest in that. All right. So what are some of the biggest mistakes you made?
Oh, biggest mistakes I've made. Probably the biggest one is not being willing to tell clients no and keeping them on longer than I should have. When you start dealing with these people and, you get emotionally involved. That's the one thing REO will teach you. It's a business. It is not, you don't have to be all emotional. It's a transaction. You're going to have to be nice to them and you're going to have to work with them and you have to be understanding and take care of them. But you don't have to get emotionally involved. And when you do, then that costs you. It'll cause you to keep people on that you probably shouldn't be working with who aren't going to ultimately close a deal with you.
Buyers are liars, sellers are worse.
Yep.
There's a saying, and I love buyers and sellers. We don't have business without them, and I don't literally mean that, but that is a saying in the business. Buyers are liars and sellers are worse. So if someone tells you they don't have an agent, I try to believe them.
Yep.
However, not having a plan for the agent that magically pops up is not good. So you need to have a plan for that. First, you talk to people and say, look, if an agent magically appears later, they are not the procuring cause. I need you to know that. So if you have an agent, you need to let me know that now. And when they do pop up, because they will, have a plan for it. I can't really talk about what that plan is because it addresses commission.
Right.
But I'm just saying, if an agent magically appears that has done nothing, have a plan for it. I think that's important.
I think absolutely. Other things, there's probably been some times that I've given up too early.
Yeah,
too. Do you? Yeah. Not staying in there, not fighting it out. I am a ruthless negotiator. But there have been some times that I've walked when I probably could have squeezed every penny out of a deal. But I really don't think as agents we should try to squeeze every penny out of a deal.
Right.
There's got to be a little meat left on the bone. That way everybody walks away happy.
Yeah. Let everybody win. I think that's important. I would say I had this happen to me last week. I'm very good at not showing weakness publicly. And what I mean is sometimes your family's struggling with health conditions. Mm-hmm. Your clients don't care.
No.
Sometimes you don't feel your best. Your clients don't care.
Nope.
Sometimes you're on vacation. Your clients don't care. Not showing weakness publicly is an important part of what we do.
Yeah.
They hire us for our confidence. They hire us for our grace. I had a client who one time I was doing a little kind of book tour for one of my early novels, and I let him know I was on a book tour, and he's like, do you even have time for me? And that was a passive-aggressive way of saying, I don't care about your book tour.
Yep.
I don't care what you're doing. I just want you to know that you're taking care of me. So not showing weakness publicly is important. When you answer the phone, be professional. And there are times, by the way, if you don't give yourself time to take care of yourself, sometimes you're going to answer the phone a little grumpy.
Yep.
For instance, I said to an agent one time, thank you so much for calling me on Easter Sunday. Hey, baby, pick up that egg over there. Now, my daughter was 23 at the time, but I wanted to sell. It was Easter Sunday. I'm like, hey, baby, pick up that egg. Hey, look, it's a bunny. It's a real bunny on Easter. Oh, how can I help you in your concerns? Thank you for calling me on Easter Sunday.
Yeah.
But if you pick up the phone, don't do that. And I'm guilty of that. Sometimes I want to show my dark sense of humor to people. And I think you and I both don't do that.
No.
Yeah. I'm at my best when I don't say the 10 things that come to mind. Like, thank you so much for making my Father's Day by calling me with 15 inane questions. It does my heart
right
good.
Here. Yes.
Yeah.
It showed the love.
Don't say that.
Well, and my follow-up to that is, not knowing when to keep my mouth shut.
Right.
I'm in the same boat. I mean, there are times where I picked up the phone and went, really? This is the 9th time you've called me today? Do you not have anything else to do?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's so hard not to say that. So my weakness is what I call one more question guy. Mm-hmm. Can I just ask you
one more question?
One more question. And I had a guy one time go, can I ask you one more question? I go, well, we're on the 17th. So are we stopping at 18? Or are we? Yeah. And don't say that. All right. So warning, we're actually going, so we've given some tough advice.
Oh, yeah.
This is the unfiltered, we may curse. This is how dare us. This is the part that if you don't have a stomach for it, don't stay around, because we're going to tell you when you're being an idiot. This is the Tough Talk. Warning, welcome to the Tough Talk. It's the name of the podcast.
Absolutely.
This is it. This is where the thermometer goes up. If you get your feelings hurt easily, we're not the guys for you.
Yeah.
Go.
If you get your feelings hurt, please turn to another station.
Right.
Not saying no when your plate is full. The number of agents that I have seen literally crash and burn and destroy a transaction because they just keep trying to take on more and more and more and more, and they fail miserably. And they make every transaction for everybody on this deal and every other deal they're working on a royal pain in the butt.
Don't let your ego show. I don't care how many transactions you've done. You don't care how many transactions I've done. I don't care if you're a broker. I don't care if you can butter your bread from 3 miles away with your brain. I don't care about any of it. I care about this transaction only. I don't care if you've been doing commercial real estate longer than me. I don't care if you've sold 5,000 houses and I've sold 3,000. I don't care about any of it. I care about this transaction. Do not show your ego. Just help people. If you show up and you just help people, you will make a lot of money. You will become all those stats that you're telling me about. They will be for real instead of BS and you pulling them out of your backside. Put your ego in check. Help me get this client to close. Period. Shut up. I don't care.
Mine's probably going to be taking time for your family and yourself. We are in an industry where we hear no a lot. And after a while, that does start to take a toll on you. When you are dealing with the emotional side of a family, you're kicking out of a house and, the kid comes up and gives you 37 cents and says, if I give you all my money, can mama and I stay in the house? I mean, it pulls on you. You need downtime. Every real estate agent should go out and book themselves a very expensive vacation. It's going to do two things. One, it's going to give you the downtime that you need to recharge your battery, let your brain clear out. My staff used to hate it because every time I'd come back from vacation, I'd fire somebody who I hadn't really taken the time to think about what they were really doing. And invariably, I would fire somebody when I came home.
Probably the person that bothered you on vacation.
Probably. The other part of that is, we need that emotional calmness because we go at 100 miles an hour all the time. I would start work at 6 a.m. and it wasn't uncommon to still be there at 7 o'clock at night. And it was just go, 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 go. You've got to take that time. The other thing a vacation will do for you is if your business is lacking, you book an expensive vacation and you will work your ass off right up to the moment you get on the plane. You may even have to make a couple of calls when you get to Fiji. But let me just tell you, it will drive your business, and I don't know why, but it does every time.
Every time I went on a 2-week mission trip. I came back. I got sick for a week.
Yep.
I had the best year I ever had.
Oh, yeah.
If you take vacation, your business will improve. Period. If you take vacation, your business will improve. All right, so this is the toughest thing I'm going to tell you today. You're in this business to make friends, and remember when they do you favors. Remember I told you earlier, put your ego in check? I'm telling you, this business is about making allies and remembering who your allies are. So there's an agent that I worked with that she had a transaction that she had a listing she put on the board for $700,000. It ended up appraising at like $6 million. And I helped her save that deal. And she told everyone what a great job I did to help her save that deal.
Right.
Well, years later, she had a great listing, and I called her and said, look, I'm not asking you to let my offer win. That would be unethical.
Right.
All I'm asking is to remind your client that the agent is part of the deal. There are 3 parts of a deal: the transaction, the real estate, and the agent. And I would argue the agents are one of the most important. All I'm asking is for you to tell them that this agent has got through some tough transactions with me, and they can get this deal done. And that agent said to me, I don't owe you any favors. I'm not going to do that for you. I'm going to do what's best for my client. And I said, I'm advising you to do what's best for your client. I'm not telling them to take my offer.
Right.
I'm just asking you to tell them the agent's part of the deal.
Yep.
Now, she probably should have just said, hey, absolutely, I'll do that, and not do it.
Right.
Right. But it's a coincidence that she's bid on several properties that we have listed, and
Unfortunately, she has been unable to get one to close.
right. But if she had the best offer, I'm still going to take it to my client. She hasn't.
Sure.
But I maybe,
Yeah.
right.
Well, in the REO world, if you've got 2 offers come in and they're the exact same amount,
The agent matters.
And you know who the agent is on one, and you know the one on the other one hasn't got a clue, I'm going to always tell my client, because it's my job to make sure they get the best advice. This guy over here, he's going to close it. He may be $2,000 less than the other deal, but he's going to close it in 30 days. This one over here, I have no idea.
Yeah. So when my wife and I sold our house that we lived in forever, we had an agent, Michael Kreider, great agent. And I told my wife, we're picking this agent. The offers are the same, but this is the guy who's going to get it closed. He went through the inspection report. He came back. He said, look, they took our offer. They didn't have to. He fought for us. He was an experienced agent. That matters. So I think remembering the agent matters.
Oh, yeah.
But just remember, we're in the friend-making business. And you have a fiduciary responsibility to your client. I'm not saying that. That always comes first.
Yep.
Your relationship with your client comes first. But also remember the people who can get things done for you. And if they call you for a favor, so when the KDEDC, Economic Development Council, calls me for a favor, they get it. because they've helped get me on a $30 million project. Hey, Tim, we just need you to pull these comps. Do I say no?
Yeah. Hell no, you don't.
I pull whatever they ask me to do, right? Because they have been there for me. So just remember that.
Right.
We're in the friend-making business, and I can talk tough and all, but I remember who my friends are in this business.
Oh, yeah.
You're one of those, but I remember who my friends are in this business. You have to remember that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people forget the favor someone did for them years earlier when someone took a chance to mentor them. At least be respectful to that person when they call.
Yep. That is a great point because, we're all in this together. Those of us who do it really, really well know each other.
We do.
Once again, big industry, very small community, and memories run deep in this business. Don't ever doubt that.
All right. So this is a chance for the guest shout out, a chance for you to shout out for your business.
Whoop, whoop.
All right. So tell us about what you're doing now, why people should call you all over the country, not just in Texas.
Oh, yeah, we're nationwide.
You're nationwide. Talk about what your company does now, how people can reach out to you, why it benefits them. We referenced it a little in the show.
All right.
Now's your chance to tell us.
All right.
Website, phone number, everything.
You got it. So today, I run a business, virtual assistant business. We primarily deal with real estate professionals. All of my VAs are background checked, DIS tested. They all have a college education. Most of them have families. The number of husband and wife teams we have working for us is just astronomical. But most important is our VAs go through 160 hours of live classroom training. It's not the training you and I got when we got our real estate license. We go over contracts, addendums, transaction coordination, social media marketing, database, email. You pick it, we probably cover it. We also include REO and property management. So if you're in either one of those areas of specialization, we can help cover you there. The best part about it, yours truly got to spend an exciting 3 years with our friends from the IRS, and came out on the other side with no changes to our returns. We are one of the few VA companies you can legally write off at 100%. We are a U.S.-based C corporation based here in Houston. All of my VAs are Filipino. My entire team is Filipino. I'm the only employee in the continental United States. Price-wise, all my VAs, we do not do part-time work. All my VAs do 40 hours a week, 5 days a week, your schedule, your time zone, flat fee, $1,500 a month, $9.37 an hour. We're one of the only companies that carry $2 million in E&O insurance on the work our VAs do for you. So if you ever have a file that goes sideways, I will be standing next to you if you end up in court, because any of the work done on that file by my VA is covered by my E&O insurance. Never had to use it. Don't plan on it. We believe that the training that we do is strong enough that we don't have to worry about it. Currently we have right at 300 VAs working. I don't know how many clients that is because some of my clients have 6 VAs and some of them have 1, some of them have 8. It's all over the place. But, if you truly want to grow a business and you truly want to keep an eye on your bottom line and know what your numbers are, and you really want to work for a profit, then get yourself educated folks who can actually help you grow your business. It's a one step at a time process. Are you going to have to do some training? Yes, because the way Tim runs his business and the way I run mine, completely different. You've got to teach them that. They don't read minds. But as far as filling out contracts, doing transaction coordination, all of that, they've been exposed to it. You're in a different state. You're going to have to teach them your state contract. I'm just a broker in Texas, so I don't have all the state contracts. But we teach you how to teach them.
How long have you been in business?
April 1st of this year, we celebrated 10 years.
10 years in business. You were one of the early innovators in VA. And Bernadette, your lead, she's been with you said?
Chief Operations Officer. She's been with me for 14 years.
So I hope, thank you guys so much for watching today. Just know we have some incredible things coming up. For our next podcast, we're going to have some incredible guests. We have the former starting middle linebacker for LSU, who was actually a team captain, a little football school, LSU, coming up, and how he took his sports background and brought it to real estate. Again, we have people who do some incredible things. We have an agent, you know him, who started out as an apartment locator and now owns several strip centers. We all know who that is.
Yes.
We have him coming up. We have one of the top luxury agents in the United States coming up. So, Mr. Sutter, thank you so much for being here today. We hope you guys don't have to cut out too much, and we hope you enjoyed today's Tough Talk. A shout out to producer Pablo and also Kevin Massey here at Go Long Studios. Thank you so much. If you enjoyed the podcast today, they're one of the reasons why. Make sure you stay around for upcoming episodes where we have one of the top real estate agents in the world. He was actually number one 3 years in a row for the largest broker in the United States. We have one of the top luxury agents in the United States. We have a former college athlete who took that experience and turned it into a very successful real estate career. We have a lot more to come. If you liked the episode today, please subscribe, like us on the socials. If you need to buy or sell real estate, call us at 877-313-SELL, 877-313-SELL, or find us at ctimsell.com. Thank you for watching today.
So, also, if you are looking to get a real estate trained virtual assistant, please reach out to us. You can reach us at summitdasolutions.com, or you can call me direct at 281-733-0885. That's my personal cell phone number. You might as well talk to the boss. Thank you.